Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Tuesday, January 19th. I almost said Monday again, but it is Tuesday. I've said that about 5 times today, but Tuesday, it's always a little bit weird when we have the Monday holidays, but still very nice to get an extra day in. I think overall, markets and kind of where we finished on Friday, things definitely improved, and we saw a little bit of volatility at the end of the day on Friday. Sometimes that's just the case with a long weekend, right? For whatever reason, a little bit of selling pressure into the close on Friday. Today, gap up and go for Nasdaq. The indices moved in the overnight markets, I believe, part of which, based on what based on what the Asian markets were doing last night, they were very strong. If you kind of look across the board here, so just remember, we kind of talked about this all the way at pre-market, which is a long time ago at this point. But the Hang Seng was up 2.7%. Remember, the U.S. does not operate in a vacuum. No country operates in a vacuum. So when you see almost, when China's up almost 3%, the Hang Seng, we're going to get some type of follow-through move. And also, if you look at even South Korea was very strong too. The Kospi was up 2.6%, but a lot of green there this morning. I think that definitely contributed to the futures market overnight. And then, if you look at the percentage change from the open, you can see the S&P really didn't move that much. There was a little bit of volatility. Just watching what Netflix is doing here in the after hours market, which we'll get to that in a second. But if you look at the 5 minute for the S&P, we had a little bit of profit taking, which I think generally happens more often than not when we come in up more than 0.5% for the day. We see that profit taking in the first hour. We kind of came back and finished exactly where we opened. Nevertheless, there were still some good trading opportunities. And if we go over, I just wanted to show this 1 hour chart because I spent a lot of time talking about this 37.90 level last week, right? That was the top of value. Well, look where we are. We're back to basically the scene of the crime here. So 37.90, we really haven't gone anywhere in the S&P. This has been a lot of rotation in the S&P the last couple of weeks. Some sectors outperforming, some underperforming, but when you add it all up, a lot of what we're seeing is that names aren't going anywhere. The overall, so I said that backwards. The overall index isn't going anywhere. If we turn over to the Qs, you could see we actually got through value. So all the way, bottom of value, which was down here, 313.44, to the top of value. So we're leaning to the upside, and we actually closed above there. So nice progress on the Qs. They kind of seem like they were a little bit weak. How, of course, they were weak. How we finished on Friday, but in terms of support, right into that 310.80 support. So good to see this now leaning back to the upside. Level to watch for tomorrow, as I always like to give a couple levels to watch. The 37.90, of course, for the S&P, but for Qs, you got a new level to watch here, and that is going to be 316.52. IWM, they also didn't. Small caps, which had a nice day today, up 1.3%, but really not much of a move there in the during the cash session either. The majority of the move happening there in the overnight market. Level to watch there, and you can see we did not get outside of value for the week. That is 213.35. All right, so there's 3 levels to watch for the indices. 213.35, the last one there for IWM. But again, if you go back to the spreadsheet that I've got, you could see just kind of interesting that how the market mechanics are. IWM SPY didn't move at all from overall move, right, from 9:30 to 4:30, and again that move happening after 5:30 to so again buying the close, selling the open. Works a little bit better, right? The VIX finished down 4.5% for the day. Silver was up 1.8%. Bonds actually finished positively. They were negative pre-market, but they came back a little bit. And then here's where it gets a bit more interesting. Let's try to zoom in here a little bit. But you could see that more momentum areas. The solar names, which were very weak, on Friday. Look at where they kind of came back to. Again, almost back to that range, right? So it looks like they actually did get above Friday's open, right? PBW, which is clean energy. Same picture there. One of the strongest areas that I continue to see as well is the semiconductors. Really, not much of a pullback last week. They're up another 3.4%. So, this was a little bit of where I was focused on this week. We have our weekend watch list that I put out every Sunday for members, and I do trade this list, and I go over this obviously in these videos. But up 2.6%. So Micron was in there, up 5.9%. Micron is a name that we saw heavy option activity after they reported earnings. So again, we covered this in the weekend video, but you got a really nice launch there, up 5.9%. I traded some Skyworks today too. I like the dip back to the top of value for Skyworks. Up 6.2%. And then, of course, if you look across things like Lam Research, Applied Materials, right? Very strong semiconductors. Qorvo, I think, is another one that's also out to 52-week highs again today, too. ASML, also another one. So, probably your strongest area of the market, which is a good thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's one of the areas. And when I was on Bloomberg last week, I also talked about the transports, right? Both the transports, right, which they actually underperformed a little bit today, but still they're right around the highs of the day. But I think that's a pretty good sign for the overall market to see the semis break out like this. Also, I already mentioned the Chinese securities, but China's out to new highs. FXI up 4.3%. That actually underperformed the China Internet ETF, which was up 5%. And this was a little bit tough because, as I mentioned with China, these things are going to open there. And this did manage to rally another 1% after the open, but really strong to see, the Chinese Internets go, get it over 5% for the day. So very strong, I thought. Biotech, pot stocks actually came back. They were one of the weaker groups. The internet group also strong today, kind of recovered a little bit, up 1.8%. We'll talk a little bit about Netflix here for a second. So interesting. I did not get this one right for Netflix. I sold an iron. I traded an iron condor. So I sold a call spread, sold a put spread, and basically using what normally happens to Netflix on earnings. I think was it only three of the last quarters has the price finished up, right? So I'm looking at this column here, price change after they report earnings. So it looks like this will be the fourth one. Perhaps that people weren't expecting Netflix to do much. Look at this, up to 560 here. So that's going to be testing all-time highs. So all the move happening here on in the after-hours market here for Netflix. So that 560 is going to be right around here. So very interesting. So it looks like my iron condor will be busted, but I did buy some shares at 530 in the after-hour market to kind of defend against that. I've had that situation happen before where I've put on an iron condor, right? So you're kind of capped on how much you can lose because you sold the call spread, sold the put spread. You're collecting money, and what you don't want to happen is if the trade goes through your upper strike. However, to defend upon that a little bit, here's my trade. What I did is I bought, this it moved pretty quick on me, but I did buy some at 530, and now I'm profiting on the basically the hedge, right? It's not truly a hedge because I'm capped on the loss. So anything above that level, I can only lose per contract. Where is this? Yeah, $4, right? So now that this thing is, I can't believe this thing's up to 561. So I'm now making money on this trade. So, and I didn't even, I partially, I didn't cover the whole, not the hedge, but the whole portion of the shares. So I'll take it. Not bad. And this has happened to me before on Tesla, like way like um, a few quarters back. I did an iron condor for Tesla, and I went and bought shares in the after hours market, and it just continued to rally. So this is looking good now. So retesting previous highs. So I mentioned a couple of my trades. A lot of movers this today. I traded ATVI, which was also a name from our watch list. ATVI broke out today, out to new highs, so up almost 3%. But a couple other areas that were strong. I did not catch this one. A couple members brought it to my attention. ONEM, very strong here, up 11, almost 12% for the session. Very strong move throughout the session. So nice one there for some members. What else did I trade today? LC, which was a call position that I put on last week, out to new highs. MP was a name too that I added last week. Kind of sat with it. Basically came in and gave back some of this green bar, but basically out to here. I'm looking for this thing to get up to 38. Crowd is another one that I think is starting to look interesting here. Some people already got started on a trade. This did finish up 1% for the day, but we just don't get that many pullbacks in this name. So I would be watching this name tomorrow. Also, another name that I'm watching for tomorrow is PDD. Didn't close on the highs, but again, looking for a couple of things in the Chinese internet group. Look at NTES. I did not get into this one today. This was my favorite setup in the Chinese internet space. Sometimes things just move a little bit too quickly for you, and around the open, and you have to decide if you want to chase or not. So this one did work. If you chased pre-market around 107, you got another three bucks out of it. So again, another name that was in the watch list. NTES up 4.8% today, so very strong. All right, and a few other. Yeah, I did take one target in Skyworks. Uber started to work a little bit with that one too. The 3D companies also very strong again today too. SSYS continued. I mean, this is crazy strength that we're seeing. Very fast move in this group. I remain long NMDM, which unfortunately is not following through like that. It was up 5%, but not quite as strong as SSYS and DDD. All right, guys. So that is it for today's recap. We'll obviously have more setups to go through. I'll be posting them for members throughout the night. Have a great night, all. See you tomorrow.